Hi, Roy here on my channel, Roy Reads Anything. Thought I'd do something I've not done for a while, possibly ever, which is a reading wrap-up for the previous month, April, and a TBR for the coming month, May. So, looking back at April, April was the month when I restarted the channel after a gap of about a month, when, there were things were impinging on my noggin to the point where I didn't have space to do booktube stuff. Then I came back with talking about some cheap pulp science fiction from the 50s, the Tidbit science fiction series. That was one thing. There's videos about that. I've got a bunch of more of these. Might get back into at some point. Also, reading events included the New Arabian Nights short stories by Robert Louis Stevenson. So that was good. Again, won't say too much about it, having already talked about it in the medium of video. But that was really good. Another one I've not really talked about was Transmuted by Eve Harms. Short, quirky, totally unhinged body horror novel. Fantastic, really enjoyed that. It's a wild ride that starts being one thing and then takes you into some really crazy pulpy territory. And yeah, Transmuted by Eve Harms, brilliant. So that was good. What else was I reading in April? Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks, something I just walked into a bookshop and bought, the way you do sometimes with books. It's shortlisted for the Women's Fiction Prize 2023, getting loads of exposure. Probably doesn't need my voice adding to it too much, but I'll just say it's fantastic. First novel, and yeah, I think this folks here would really enjoy it. It was described in the sleeve as a debut about love, loss, freedom, and dub reggae. Fire Rush is an electrifying state of the nation novel and an unforgettable portrait of black womanhood. Um, that hooked me in, as well as the fact that it's set in a period, sort of 78 to 82 kind of period, that it's historical period, but that I remember. So Fire Rush, Jacqueline Crooks, brilliant. Also, in my world of Victorian studies, read a bunch of Ali Sloper's Half Holiday. So this was a weekly periodical ran from the 1880s to the early 1920s. Initially, it would take ages to even try and explain what they are. I'm not sure I really understand properly myself yet. I might get into that another time. So, a bit of Ali Sloper was also on my reading list, and a kind of, I've started so I'll finish, Sexton Blake, The South Coast Mystery. Uh, Curious about this being originally from the South Coast. Sometimes Sexton Blake operates in places like Brighton. This appears to be set in an unnamed South Coast seaside town, and so far somebody's been murdered in a cinema. So definitely get through that. What's left of it. It's from the 1950s detective story about a incredibly long-lived detective. I've done other videos about Sexton Blake, so that was great. Also, back in the world of restarting the channel, I did something which I assumed would have like zero interest, which was to spend 1 week talking about a single comic book. So basically, I read this comic bit by bit and talked about the different sections and elements. A series of videos which got loads of engagement and was great. So Yes, so Superman Family 171, a completely minor, unassuming comic book, forgotten amongst the thousands. Got a deep dive into that. So again, if you want to see how does Supergirl end up fighting Cleopatra, why is Batgirl acting as the referee, how can Cleopatra become Queen of America, look back at my videos and you'll find out. So that was April, and looking ahead to May, well, I'm super busy, so in theory I shouldn't be doing anything, I suppose, because I've got an essay deadline coming up. I think what I've learned is, one approach to that would be to block out all the time and just say I've just got to focus on that. That's all I'll be doing, and turn it into this kind of teeth clenched sort of slalom through the process. But I think it's maybe better, notwithstanding the fact that it is a big important deadline, um, to plan to do lots of enjoyable things, because I can always sack them off if I need to. So rather than turn the essay into a burden, plan to do normal stuff as well, and then see how it goes. So reading, I mean, another thing in that sort of situation, I find the events and book clubs on here a good thing, because don't have to choose what to read. There's things that are like a bunch of people are reading them and I can join in. Starting with Skullface Boy by Chad Lutzk. I've started that already this morning, already super hooked. That's part of a group read on it's reading itself. Part of a group read on Criminoli's Patreon group. So looking forward to getting into that. That will definitely be something I'll look forward to reading at the end of the day. Another book club is Edgar's Dead Authors one, with as mediated to us by Sean Standfast, where The Mystery of Dr. Fu Manchu by Sax Roma is on the cards. So I've got that lined up. I'd like to get a physical copy. So far I've got it on Kindle Unlimited. We'll see. An alternative is where's he gone? Bulldog Drummond by Sapper. I've read this a bunch of times before, but might get round to reading that as well. Fu Manchu I've never read. Know the character. As a kid, the films were on in sort of early evening, yeah, interested to see how that works. Another, where's it gone? Roger's Cheap Old Book Club brings us The Three Imposters by Arthur Machen. Again, this would be a reread, but it's great. Long time since I've read it, and it's the sort of bizarre story where you'll probably find new things in it every time you read it. So The Three Imposters probably coming my way. So those are the sort of givens. Things I might do off my own back. Well, having gone down the rabbit hole of the Superman family comic, I've acquired a few more of those. So could do something more with these. We will see. Also, might be spending some time in Wales. So, as usual, I've lined up my set of out-of-date guidebooks. Highways and Byways in the Welsh Marches by S.B. Mays. This came out in 1939. Yeah, topographical writing by S.B. Mays is usually really interesting, and plus cool maps. So we'll navigate ourselves around the A roads and etc. with that. Robert Hale, in their series The County Books, when it came to Wales, they gave up on counties and just did 2 books about the whole country, chopped in 2. So
Bad people.
On the other hand, not just a map, a fold-out map, and county books are often a lot of fun. So we'll see. Who can forget Lettice Cooper and her guidance for the for Yorkshire, and then from the mighty literature of that country, I've got a Mills and Boone book, Lair of the Dragon, which comes from Lair of the Dragon by Catherine George from Mills and Boone's 1990s Euromances series. So these were romance books which were set in the various countries of the European community, and that included most parts of the UK. They certainly did Wales. So I thought, yeah, let's get into that. Then possibly, where's it gone? Possibly, maybe not. Maybe not, because I've physically lost it already. Ah, here she is. I've had this for 50 years, so could this be the time I get to read The Island of the Mighty by Evangeline Walton, which is a fantasy novel, part of a series eventually set in Wales, and it's retellings of the Mabinogion myth cycle. And this particular copy is part of the amazing wraparound cover, part of the Ballantine Adult Fantasy series. Sorry about the glare. Yeah, so that could be a possibility for Welsh reading. Then also, I'm trying to stick with my Yard of Random Books explorations, and God and Evil by C.E.M. Joad. That could be a fun read as well. Yeah. There you go. Or none of that. We'll see. So that's me. April looking back thing. Wrap up. That's the terminology. And May TBR. Dr. Jennie, anything?
Looking at me, Jocks.
Dr. Jennie recommends new feature where you tell us that great novel you read.
Dr. Jennie recommends The Revanche Cycle by Craig Shaefer.
The Revanche Cycle by Craig Shaefer.
I like Craig Shaefer very much. He's my go-to author when I can't think what else to read and I've run out of Ian Rankins. And it is kind of grimdark fantasy, which is very unlike his other stuff, which tends to be urban fantasy. And it's dead straightforward. It's somewhat infelicitously written at times. For example, he talks about a dinner being served where fresh spring water was brought in tureens. I don't think you normally serve water from a tureen.
That's the fantasy element.
Yeah, they're usually reserved for soup. But Craig Shaefer, The Revanche Cycle, 4 books. I got him on an all 4 for 1 99p deal from Amazon. But yeah, Craig, he's the man. We love him.
Okay, so there's Dr. Jennie recommends. New feature we had with no rehearsal. Hope that's recorded properly.
So do I.
Okay, so goodbye and see you soon with something else.